the one thing new investors always seem to miss. Today on the Landlord Coach Daily Show.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, ignition, liftoff.
Hey everybody, my name is Mark Dolfini, Landlord Coach and host of the Landlord Coach Daily Show. It's really nice to see you. So today what we're going to be talking about is the one thing that new investors seem to miss. Yes, even seasoned investors seem to miss. And before we go on, you can actually head over to landlordcoach.com/videos where you can find out how to avoid missing some of the things. But there's always one thing they seem to miss. But there's a free download in there. You can go to landlordcoach.com/videos, or you can get a copy of The Time Wealthy Investor right there. The microphone is in the way. But landlordcoach.com/videos, you can get that copy of the book for free. All I ask is that you just pay for shipping. So today what we're going to be talking about is the one thing that new investors seem to miss. And I'll be honest with you, it's not just new investors that miss this. Seasoned investors miss this one thing often. So let me tell you a quick story first. Of course, back when I got started on this, I remember I was going through my property analysis. You know, I had my Excel spreadsheets because I was all so fancy back in 1997 when I was looking at buying my first property. And I ended up buying my first property in 1998. So I'm going through all the property, analysis and stuff, and I was like thinking I was all fancy with my amortization tables and figuring out principal and interest payments and then taxes and insurance, right? And I was like, okay, cool, I can rent this place out. I'm going to make about $150 a month over my principal and interest, taxes and insurance. Go me. Well, if you've been following me for more than 11 minutes, you realize that's not going to be enough, okay? Or maybe you're realizing, yeah, $150 over your mortgage payment, you're probably going to end up being broke before the end of the first year just because you're not budgeting for enough things. You're not budgeting for different things like capital expenditure of maintenance things, big ticket maintenance things like your furnace, your roof, your water heaters, things like that. You're not budgeting for vacancy expense. You're not budgeting for other things, right? So these are the things that I had missed coming up. But there was one thing, even after I had figured out, okay, so I need to budget for vacancy expense. I need to budget for CapEx and base that in a mathematical formula, not on a percentage of rents. I see a lot of people say, well, just plug 10% in for CapEx, plug 10% in for your capital expenditure and just move on. Well, how does that make sense if your rents are $700 a month or they're $1,500 a month? That it's going to be 10% of a rent number. The metrics don't match up. So make that an actual function of what the cost would be amortized over what the remaining useful life would be. Okay, you can check all this stuff out. You can go to landlordcoach.com/videos and download there's a free download you can download there, have it delivered directly to your inbox. Just enter in your email. So even after I kind of figured all that stuff out, okay, well, I need to be budgeting for vacancy expense. I need to be budgeting and setting aside that money for vacancy for when the property is vacant. I can pay myself out of those funds, and that way I'm not going to need these wild swings in cash flow that maybe you're familiar with if you've been in the rental business for a minute. So, what are some of these things that I wasn't budgeting for? Well, repairs and maintenance is one of those things. But the one thing that investors always seem to miss, and this is what's crazy about this, is actually budgeting for management expense. Now, I hear the argument already. Well, I'm budgeting for it. I'm going to be managing the property myself, so I don't need to plug in management fees or management expense, right? So I want you to hear me when I say this. Every individual line item that you don't budget for becomes a job that you create for yourself, right? So let's pretend that you didn't budget for mowing the property when the property is vacant. Now, a lot of times I say, well, who's mowing the property? Why don't you put in anything for mowing? Well, the residents are supposed to be mowing the lawn, right? Supposed to be, but what if they move out, right? What if they move out of the property and the property's vacant for a month? Are you going to let the next renter mow the waist-high grass that's in your yard? Well, obviously not. You have to mow it. Well, guess what? If you didn't budget for that, you created a mowing job for yourself, or you're going to have to figure out how to pay for it. And you'll probably have to pay for it out of your pocket because or you're paying for it out of money that you hadn't allocated, okay, that you hadn't budgeted for. So now your profitability isn't as good. And I say that's because the amount of money that you would pay for a property would be less if you knew you were going to have to pay for these other things, right? So you might not have offered $150,000 for that property. You might have offered only $145,000, right? Because now you're budgeting, now you're baking in the cake to have the stuff done by someone else. Otherwise, you are creating a job for yourself. So if you didn't budget for leasing expense, guess what? You created a leasing job for yourself. If you didn't budget for mowing expense, or snow removal, right? You created a snow removal or mowing job for yourself. Now, in this particular case, you created a management job for yourself. And you're thinking, well, if I'm self-managing, I'm managing it out of the profits. I'm paying myself out of the bottom line, the net income. Well, here's the thing, though. You're not thinking like a business owner. You're not thinking like an investor. You're thinking like someone who's just buying a job for themselves. That's the main difference. And here's the sad reality. If you don't budget for management expense, you're never going to be able to hand that job over to someone else long term. If you don't budget for leasing expense, if you don't budget for those things, you're always going to have that job. So this is why, again, and I say new investors always seem to miss this, but I'll tell you, even seasoned investors there's some people that just don't seem to ever get that. Well, I pay myself out of profits, which I understand, but are you really paying yourself out of those profits? Are you really paying yourself? Are you really allocating that money aside to pay yourself for mowing? I don't know about you, but I didn't get into the real estate business to create a $12 an hour job for myself, or whatever you'd pay to mow. I mean, whatever, even if it's $15 an hour. I hope to God you didn't get into this business to create a mowing job for yourself, or a job that's $15 or $20 an hour. You want a higher rate of return. You should command a higher rate of return for that, when you're doing your mowing and things like that. So, but I would also make the argument that you shouldn't be doing it. You're not going to get to that other level of your life if you're continuing to do those types of jobs. I get it. Sometimes you have to do it because maybe for whatever reason. But if you're baking into the cake, doing it up front, then you're never going to have the time freedom that you're hoping to have by investing in these properties. So that's all I have for today. One real quick more plug for landlordcoach.com/videos. If you want to head over there, check out the Time Wealthy Investor, get a copy of that for free. Just cover the shipping. And then hoping to plug my friends over at RentAware. This is property management software that is specifically designed for the mom and pop investor, or even small property manager. If you've got a small property management operation, you can actually scale with it. But realistically, it's really designed for the mom and pop investor. You can check that out at rentaware.com. And that is all I have for today. So we are going to watch our oldest play baseball, and it is like, I don't even know. I think it's like 40 degrees outside and the wind's blowing like 15 miles an hour. So I'm probably going to look like Jack Nicholson at the end of, what was that movie? Maybe you can remember. What's the movie I'm trying to think of with The Shining, right? Jack Nicholson frozen at the end of Shining. Anyway, please be sure to place a value in your free time, because if you don't, someone else will. But most important, there is no amount of money that will make time irrelevant. Have an awesome day, and I'll see you guys next time.